Hello, this is Daniel, and welcome to another AutoFlex Connect settings tutorial video. Today I am looking at misting and fogging in the AutoFlex Connect. I've already got my equipment configured here, so I'm going to go ahead and hop into the settings. Here you can see I have a pump, 2 fans, and 3 different soakers that I have configured. If I want to alter the order that my soakers come on, I can select them and use the arrows. And so here now I have soaker 1 coming on first, and then number 2, and then number 3. Getting into the settings, we've got 6 general settings up here, and then we'll have a few more settings once we choose what mode we want to be in. Today I'm going to be talking about the soaker mode, so I will go ahead and select that. Let's start off with the settings at the very top here. Low set point, high set point, and max set point. These can be thought of very similar to a variable speed fan, where the low set point would be very similar to the idle set point, the high set point would be the same as the set point, and the max set point would be the same as the differential. Let me explain. When the temperature is below the low set point, your cooling or your soaking cycle will not activate. This is like in a variable speed fan when you're below the idle speed setting or idle temperature set point, then your variable fan will not come on. Between the low set point and the high set point, we are going to do the minimum amount of soaking and cooling. And the minimum amount of cooling happens when we have the maximum cycle time. So basically, that would be like having your variable fan speed idling. Then between the high set point and the max set point, we are going to increase the amount of soaking that we are doing. So our soaking cycle will get shorter and shorter, so we will soak more often, which brings more cooling. And this is like ramping up your variable speed fan. And then at the maximum set point or higher temperature, then we're just always going to be running the shortest cycle of soaking, and so having the maximum amount of cooling. And that would be the same as having your variable speed fan running at 100%. So let's actually just set these. For this control, how I have everything else set up, I'm going to set this to 68, 75, and 85. All right, so the next two we have active start and active end. And these ones are pretty simple. This just tells us the time during which we want the possibility of running soaking to be active. So if we want it not to run overnight, even if the temperature would be such that it should, then we have to adjust our active time. So here I am setting my active time. There we go. So here I have 5 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. So between those, during that time, if the temperature calls for it, then it's going to run a cooling cycle. If it's 10:31 to 4:59 over the night, then even if the temperature is hot enough, it's not going to run that soaking. The final setting here in our set of general settings is the pump delay in seconds. And that is basically the amount of seconds after our soaking cycle activates that the first soaker is going to come on. So basically, this pump delay is the amount of time in seconds that we give our pump to pressurize the system. And so the setting that you give that is going to depend very much on your system and on your pump. For this example, I'm just going to leave it at the 10 seconds. Then, let's hop into our mode-specific settings, our soaker settings. Before I set the settings, or kind of as I set the settings, I am going to talk through a little bit more exactly how the soaker mode works, as that will be important information for you when you're deciding how you want to set these settings. So in the soaker mode, when a soaking cycle is activated, when the temperature is 68 degrees or higher, using the temperature set points that I have here. So when a soaking cycle activates, the pump will turn on and both fans will turn on. Then we're going to wait 10 seconds, and then soaker number 1 is going to turn on. It's going to run for the soak duration. Then it's going to turn off, and soaker number 2 is going to turn on. It will run for the soak duration again, then turn off, and then soaker 3 is going to turn on. Again, run for the soak duration, and then turn off. Then, at that point, the pump will turn off as well, and we'll just have the fans running. And those fans will run until we reach the end of our cycle time. So from that, we can gather our minimum cycle. If I try to go down here, right now, I can't go lower than 5 minutes as our shortest cycle. And that makes sense because we need at least enough time to run 3 soaks, 1, 2, 3, and the pump delay. So that is 1.5 minutes times 3 is 4.5 minutes, plus the 10-second delay is 4 minutes and 40 seconds. So rounding up, that means we need a minimum of 5 minutes for our shortest soak cycle. However, we don't really want to just spray down a bunch of water and then have no time for the fans to be evaporating it off the animals and cooling them. So I am going to adjust this up to 15, you know what? Let's do 20 minutes for our minimum cycle. So after our soakers have all run through, we're basically going to have 15 minutes of just the fans running, and before it will take a look at the temperature again and decide if it wants to soak again. And that would be if we're at our maximum set point or higher. That's going to be the maximum amount of soaking is going to be 1 soak cycle every 20 minutes. The final thing is our maximum cycle. And so this is basically setting when we're between our low set point and our high set point, when we're doing our coming back to the variable fan, when we're in our idle speed state, or basically what our least amount of cooling when it is still actually cooling. So for this, I'm actually going to leave it at 40 minutes. So when we're in between here, we don't need that much cooling. So we're basically going to run through, we're going to add our water, and then we're going to have 35 minutes of the fans running, no extra water added. And then it'll take a look and, obviously decide if it will run another cycle or not. And if the temperature keeps increasing, we're going to get more water and less of the just a fan running. So that is the soaker specific settings. There is one other setting down at the bottom here, and this is our humidity bypass. So if we enable this and we can select our humidity probe, we can then set a humidity set point. So the logic of the control, it will first look if we are in our active time. If we are within our active time, then it will look at the temperature. If we are in a temperature where it should activate a cooling cycle, if we have the humidity bypass enabled, it's then going to look at the humidity rating or measurement. If the humidity measurement is below this set point, then it's going to run a normal cooling cycle. If it is above this set point, then the pump and the soakers are not going to come on. It's going to skip the water part of the cooling cycle, and it's only going to run the fans for that entire time of however long the cycle is supposed to be. And that is because if we have this enabled, we're telling them, hey, we've already got enough water here. We don't want to make it more humid. We just need some more airflow from our fans to help evaporate things and cool off our animals. And so that is how the humidity bypass works. I will save that and then also make sure we save our settings here. And that is it for this one. That is how the soaker mode works in the AutoFlex Connect. I will see you guys in the next video.